Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk, and this is Yu Tsai. I'm here again with you at 2 p.m. daily, and I'm so excited for this week because this week is so special to me. It's Asian Pacific Heritage Month, and because of that, we're celebrating by partner with Nomad MGMT and bring Asian models to a spotlight this week. On top of that, on Wednesday, we're gonna have Coco Rocha joining us, who started Nomad MGMT with her partners and brought so many awareness of Asian models into the Western culture. And I can't wait for you guys to talk to her or meet her. I will be talking to her. Well, today we have our guest, supermodel from Korea to the east, from the west, west back to the east. And she's here today with us from New York. Are you in New York?
Yes, I am.
Well, she's on the East Coast. She's on the East Coast, and I'm on the West Coast, and we're here together. And this is none other than Soo Joo Park. Hi, Soo Joo.
Hi.
Well, I'm so happy that you can join me today, and it's a reunion for us because the last time we saw each other was in this beautiful photo shoot for Harper's Bazaar Singapore cover shoot in Paris. We were in Paris together.
It was a few years ago. Was it like 2015?
We saw each other at Moschino show as well. We did see each other at Moschino show. I did a coverage of Moschino show for Harper's that year, and you were there as well. So this is our third reunion.
Okay, good.
Well, thank you so much for third time's a charm. Well, I'm so happy you're here. So today we're going to dive right into our conversation about being an Asian model. I think you know nothing else other than being an Asian model because you are one. So let's go right into it. So you were born in Korea, and then you moved to the States when you were quite young, right?
Yeah, so I was born in Seoul, and when I was 10, my family moved. So technically what happened was when I was 9, I came to America, I came to California, and I had a student visa. I lived with my grandparents who had moved here in the 80s because my father's older sister, so the oldest aunt that I have, she moved here in the 70s. So then we had the green card, like the friends, the family invitation thing. Does that make sense?
I had the same thing. A
lot of immigrants know what I'm talking about. This is like way before
I think it's called
F5.
F5. I think that's what's called as F1. Maybe it's F1. F1 I think is student visa. I think F5, I don't remember. But yes, same way. We came to the United States from Taiwan because my uncle was a student here in the United States, and eventually he married someone, got his citizenship through her. And from there, with friends and family, you can then apply to be here. Back then was much, I would say, easier than now, but
way easier. So they were really just handing out invites. Like it was like a free-for-all party.
it was pretty much for the immigrants that at that time, the United States really wanted people to come in from different part of the culture to invest into companies and really build a multicultural melting pot. And we won't talk about the politics of that, how it has evolved, but because of that, during that time, that both of us were able to come to the United States and try to conquer the Western world.
Yeah.
Well,
so when as I was growing up, my grandparents would come and visit in Korea, and they would bring me presents. And I think I visited California for the first time when I was 5 or 6, and it was West Coast, like near LA, and I just fell in love with it as a kid. Like I was 5 years old. I had 4 older girl cousins who were like so nice to me. They, you know, like it was like they had a younger sister, and I had all these sisters now. So like they really took care of me, and I only had a brother. So it was like, wow, this country has like, I have like, you know, people who really love me and take care of me. And then there's Disneyland, there's the beautiful weather, there's palm trees, there's swimming pools everywhere. I want to live here. So then I really I kind of took it on my own to move to America. Like I really begged my parents to send me. So when I was in 4th grade, they sent me for 1 year to live with my grandparents to learn English because, you know, being able to speak English is a really important asset, even when you live in Asia. So, that's how I first got here. And then my family called me back after the 1 year visa was over. And, you know, I had a really difficult time adjusting back to Korean world. Like the education and everything is very different. So by the time I went back, you know, they were already doing like pre-algebra in 6th grade, and I had no idea how to acclimate myself. And luckily my parents decided to move to California. They, you know, as a family unit. So I
Isn't that
was
interesting
11
though?
when we did that.
It sounds like you and I have a very similar path, because I was not really well equipped to live in an Asian culture in terms of education, because the way the education is taught there is very competitive, either your first place or your last place. And the academic is excels in such a speed that I wasn't equipped and built for it. I was horrible academically when I was in Taiwan, and we always thought I was going to end up on the street. This is over for him. But when my parents immigrated to the United States, everything changed. It was like you, it was a whole new horizon. I said, wow, I can learn from this way. I can actually challenge the authority in a way of asking why, because in the Asian culture, we're brought up never to ask why to the elders, right? You're to whatever they told you. If 1 + 1 is 5, it's what they tell you it is, you're going to say, yes, it's 5, and you're going to live with it, and you're never going to question it. And that was my problem growing up in Asia, that I didn't get an opportunity to challenge. And by challenging, meaning that to really understand something. So the Western culture, living in California, I moved to Terre Haute, Indiana when we first moved here. So I was really embedded into American white culture, if I could say.
And you, did your entire family move here with you, or did they send you?
Yes, my whole entire family. My family immigrated here. My mom and my dad, I have a younger sister and an older brother. We all moved here. And it wasn't until years later that we did a visit like you to California. And of course, we had to go visit Disneyland. And of course, after that, we screamed we never want to go back to Terre Haute, Indiana. We begged, we screamed, we yelled, and I even said I would stay here till you guys move back here. But eventually, we did move to California, and that's where we reside for the last 20-some years. So we kind of traveled that same journey, and living in California is very different than living in the Midwest, because we are in an area that other Asians that we can look up to, and we can go to Asian market and shop for food that we love that we don't have in the middle of America where I was living. So that was an amazing thing to have, especially trying to find a way to identify myself through that time, whether it's through food, whether it's through people I can look at. Because on TV, there wasn't a lot of Asian faces, nor was there many Asian models. And when I opened magazines, there wasn't a lot of Asian models to look at, to go, wow, okay, I can relate to this, and this is something that I would love to get into, you know? So as you grew up in California, how did the modeling bug bit you?
The modeling bug, I don't know if that's what you, well, so I've always this is my cat, this is Toto.
Hello.
So I was always interested in fashion. I remember, like, in school they had these fundraisers and magazine drives. You guys had that in the Midwest, I assume. But I would subscribe to Vogue magazine. I would, you know, like 17, Teen Vogue was, I don't think Teen Vogue was around when I was a kid, but, you know, like I would look through it and study it every day and rip out the pages that I liked and put it on the wall. Like, I had one wall that was all pasted with magazines that my parents really loved, because I was probably a bitch for them to redo and renovate after I left. But yeah, and then but you know, I was focused on academia as a student, and I went to a university. I got into a good school and I was studying there, but I always thought that there would be a way to link fashion somehow. I didn't think that it was going to be necessarily as a model. Does that make sense? I wasn't really ever thinking like, wow, I can be a model. Like, I am destined to be a model. I'm not that kind of, like, I just didn't have that confidence. I was really self-conscious as a kid.
But you love
and
fashion,
also, as you said, like, you know, flipping through these magazines, I never saw a face that I was like, oh, like, she's like she looks like me. Not never, but hardly ever. And so I just didn't even think that was possible. And when I went to school, I studied photography and, you know, started really brushing up on design and art. And, you know, my love for it really grew. After I graduated, I had a full-time job in San Francisco. And on one weekend, I was just shopping in a vintage store, and this lady came up to me and she asked me if I was interested in modeling while I was waiting for a fitting room. So that's kind of how it all started. But that was more than 10 years ago.
But
So
you know
it's been a
what?
really long journey since.
But in that span of time, a lot of models start at age of 15, 16, even younger. You took the
Yeah.
time to get well educated. You went to the proper channel of education, and you did all the academia what a good Asian person's supposed to do. And
Yeah.
then you took off on this trajectory of your modeling career. And you say it's been 10 years ago, but the fact that in the last 10 years, you've done more than so many models have in their lifespan of their modeling career, you know?
I don't know. I think when I first started, it was right before, you know, globalization and really like China becoming such an important major market and economy. So when I first started, I think it was still kind of slow, and it was, you know, like I still didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, well, I
So
have
were you
nothing to lose.
immediately signed with Nomad right away? Did you join the agency right from the
No,
start?
so I had a agency in San Francisco, which was it's a major agency that's also in New York. And I was trying to work in New York, and it was always my dream to live in New York and, you know, live that life, like Devil Wears Prada, kind of like working for the magazine or like something like that. And I think the first time I came to New York with my portfolio, I went to about 9 or 10 of the biggest agencies, including the one that I was signed with in the San Francisco region, and they all said no, and I was really heartbroken.
And
they were just like, I don't know, we don't
you.
know what to do with you, because
So
we
that's
see
interesting.
you.
I want to dive into that. As you said that the market has started to expand, and I know this time because China Vogue just began to take its footing, and everybody's watching what
Yes.
China Vogue was going to do. When Angelica Chang took over, it was a huge news in the fashion industry because just pure population, China's population is so massive compared to any other regions of publication that will ever be able to compete. So what they put in that magazine was going to be a resilient voice, whether you like it or not. You had to pay attention. And it's just interesting enough that at that time, when that magazine publication world evolving and is changing, yet the model agencies didn't see that wave coming. And when they met you, they still say, we don't know what to do with you. Were you blonde then already?
No, I had black hair. I had long black hair. And, you know, my book was not the most amazing, but I spoke English fluently, and I just, I don't know, I just had this feeling, and I was really frustrated because whether I look a certain way or not, like, I just felt like I had the knowledge and the passion for fashion. So weird. But I was really passionate about this industry, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, I feel like, you know, I see everything, and I understand it, and I feel like I can do it, but no one's you know, no one knows what to do with me.
Well,
so
you feel like you belong. You know you belong. You studied. You've done your homework. You know the vocabulary. You know your designers. You already have that foundation.
Yeah, I was looking up all the collections on back in the days when it was style.com. Every fashion week, I was just studying all the collections. I knew all the models, you know, like I was a fan. But, you know, also being a fan is not the same as like, it's just because you're well-versed and knowledgeable in something doesn't mean you can actually be in it or, you know, participate. So, but I always just had this feeling like no one's getting me. Like I want to do this. So,
and let me ask you,
you know,
you were about 22 then, right?
Yeah. I was 22 because
So
I was scouted.
did you feel it's because you were older in a pack of young models that as agency usually sign models at much younger age and develop them and shape them? Did you feel there was an issue because you were older already?
I definitely thought so because a lot of the, new faces that I was looking around, they were all 15, 16.
Yes.
I was discovered and like started working around the same time as Haley Clausen, who is a friend of mine from like 10 years
Yes.
ago.
We love
And
Haley.
yeah, she's such a sweetheart and she's major, like she's grown and she's so beautiful. But yeah, so we knew each other from back then and I was doing her makeup backstage and things like that. But
Wow.
I just knew like I was a lot more mature and I was like trying to think of all the reasons why it wasn't working because, as I think you like when you are coming from somewhere like where I was as a student or like in a normal job, like if you do the homework or if you study or if you put in the work, the results come, and it wasn't quite doing that with fashion. And I think that was also a reason why I was so drawn to it and I stayed on because it was
But
almost like they were playing hard to get.
But were you ever in that state that you start to question, is it because I'm Asian? Is because I am in a Western culture that they don't know what to do with me? Is because they just understand our culture?
Quite different from like a traditional beauty that was cemented at that time. So that was also, I think, kind of the reason why. But so like what I did was I went to New York and met with the agencies. It was a huge heartbreak, but I had to go home and I had to dust my butt and like start over. And I was like, where do I go from here? And I was thinking like I can either just like, stay here and do catalog stuff, or I can quit and go to grad school, or I'll just pay my way to New York and I'll just fucking struggle and see what happens. So I did the last option. And I moved myself to New York. I found an agency who was willing to sign me, and they weren't like the best top agency, and also they weren't giving me like it wasn't like they were gonna be like you're gonna be a top model and I'm gonna push you. It was just like, oh, we'll get you some work. I thought about it and like I met a model. Her name is Hyejung Lee. She was a Korean model she is a Korean model that was in New York at that time. And she was like, you should like try working in Korea. Cause I hadn't gone back to Korea in almost 10 years.
Wow.
And after my family had moved and I'd always thought like I should go back and visit, but I never really thought like that was going to be my priority. So then I spoke to her and she was like, you should think about maybe like if you're ever going to be in Korea, there's this agency that I work with and I'll connect you. So then I took that information and then I think like 4 or 5 months later, my cousin was getting married and it was a big flight to take. It's like a 15-hour flight from New York. And usually like weddings and things like it's hard for you to fly to attend as a normal person because it's a lot of money, it's a lot of commitment. But I was like, you know what? Like, I want to go see my family. I want to see my cousin, and I'll check with the modeling agency and see what they say. So then I went to Korea, and then I contacted this agency, Esteem, and I don't know why, but like they liked me. And the next day, the agency director called me, and she was like, oh, wait, are you available like this week at all? And I was like, I have like 4 more days until I have to go back to New York, but what's up? And she was like, well, like Vogue Korea wants to shoot you for an editorial. We can get you in. So can you extend or like do something? And I was like, yeah, okay. Like that's pretty major.
It's Vogue. It's good. I'll take it.
Yeah. So then I stayed and I shot the editorial, and that was like the first day when I saw like all the Korean top supermodels there, and I was
Wow.
like frozen. But
Wow.
I had 2 shots by myself, and they kind of were like, oh, like we don't get like faces around you here, like you're a unique
Right.
face. And I was like, I've never heard that. Like no one has ever told me that the way my face is actually something unique and good.
Unique.
Like and I was just like, I didn't understand. Like I was always trying to fit into like something that would be already easily marketable in that Asian market, So then yeah, that shoot went really well. So I got really good feedback, and then the director called me the next day and they're like, they loved you and they want to shoot you again for like 2 more things. So
So you had a great start. I mean, with all the struggles, with all that waiting, with all that, even
yeah.
the wedding, everything was lined up for you to become successful. You just didn't realize it yourself at the time. You
Yeah, I
know?
think so. I mean, thank God I didn't give up earlier. I mean, because there were so many moments where I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm not making any money. I'm like sitting next to a girl who's like 7 years younger than me, who I can barely communicate with. Like, no one wants to book me on anything. Everyone's just saying no. I feel like a reject. Why am I
But
here?
but isn't it unique that for you to be in a Western culture that you're being told that they don't know what to do with you? In that definition is whether you're too old, you're too tall, you're too
I
unique,
didn't
or
look
you don't
Asian
look the
enough for them.
part. You didn't look, oh gosh, we get that all the time. You don't look Asian enough. And yet then you went back to Asia in Korea and they're saying to you, you're unique to us, and but they embrace you as an Asian woman
Yeah.
that's unique. That must have been such a refreshing vindication for you, because you didn't change your face.
Yes.
You didn't. There's nothing you can do. This is you. But for somebody
Yeah.
to actually accept you, and it's, for me, it's so rewarding to hear that you went back to Korea to find your footing and start from your root, from your Korean publication of Vogue. It's so beautiful to me because, as we know, in Asian culture, a lot of artists, actors, actresses, photographers, whatnot, in a creative field, once they make it in the United States, once they made it in the Western Hemisphere, they rarely go back. They really go back to where they're from and
Right.
celebrate where they're from. And I'm not exactly sure what the reason why. A lot of it, people think, oh, because that's a developing country. Oh, that's not Paris anymore. I already left that. I won't go back. And to me, when I learn about you, about how you struggle so hard in a Western Hemisphere, trying to break through, but it took you to go home, to home,
Yes.
to be recognized and celebrated. And from there, you came back like
Yes.
a storm.
Well, and then I met Nomad because Nomad was working with a steam agency in Korea. So Nomad is basically my mother agency. Damon and I have worked together. There were moments where I was just having crazy nervous breakdowns, and he would always be there for me. And they're so amazing to have, because I think people that aren't in modeling don't really understand the concept of mother agency. They're like, why do you work with, like, they're always like, oh, who do you work for? And I'm like, I work for anyone, everyone, like basically whoever hires me. We're, in a way, we're like freelancers, but we are, they're maybe like the agency that, gives you that opportunity. But yeah, that what you said about me going home to really find, my value and worth is so true. And to be honest, once I moved to America as a child, it was really difficult for me to retain the Korean culture. I wanted to acclimate myself and fit in to the Western culture and, Californian culture, and even like Korean American culture is quite different from Korean culture. So I kind of dismissed my heritage for a while growing up. And, even though I spoke Korean to my family members, when I went outside, I really wouldn't want to use it. I would want to be more like American.
and that's not uncommon for
Yeah.
immigrants who move to this country, because the fact that you are in a Western hemisphere, you are in a Western culture, and as much as we like to know that California is a melting pot, but when you are among Asian Americans, they really adopt the American part more so than celebrate the Asian part. And that has to do with us being young and insecure. I really do. Like, all we want to do is fit in. And I used to be embarrassed, right? When we go shopping, my mom would speak to me in Mandarin. I'd be like, don't talk to me in Mandarin. Just speak English. I'd rather you speak broken English and talk to me in Mandarin. I don't want people to know I'm Chinese. You go through that period. And funny enough, like you, it took me, as I get older and more mature, to realize that how valuable it is to have that second language or third language. For a lot of Asian people, it's like the third language to learn. And how important it is to go back and learn your roots and celebrate the goodness. Now, not everything about Asia I agree with. Not the educational process is not how I can accept, but I can know the goodness from it. I know that the discipline does come through when you foster a child to want to be better. And that's something very different than how it is growing up in America. The concept of you're 18 and you're on your own, that did not make any sense to me, because in Asia, you're never on your own. You're going to be taking care of your parents. You are in your family, and family stays forever. You don't just go, oh, I'm 18, bye. Thank you for taking care of me. You know, no, you then return and start taking care of them when you get older. That's something that's so different that I now appreciate and learn and find the pleasure and more happy to know that I make enough money to support my family. I can be there for them. And because they had to do what they had to do to move to this country. And give him credit for immigrant parents. It is hard. My father was a photographer in Taiwan.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did really well. He has
so were they
different
supportive
studios.
of you becoming a photographer?
No, I want to be nothing like my father. You know, I grew up one of those, like, don't want to do photography. I know everything about it, but I don't want to go into the dark room. Why would I do that? I grew up with that. That's, you know. And my dad, when he moved here, English is the problem. No, none of us spoke English. So he resorted into washing dishes at a Chinese restaurant that my uncle owned. I followed him on the summers and washing dishes and learn how to butcher a chicken. And I was side by side with him. Little did I know that part of the education, what he had to do to be where to survive and take care of the family, I was there actually learning. Because now I'm more like him than ever. I'm a photographer who has a cooking show. You know, it's everything that you don't think you want to be, but one thing that you cannot run away from is your roots. And those roots are hard, deep in the ground from Asia. That there's nothing you can do. And that's something that I think it takes time and maturity to be able to say, yes, I celebrate what this is given to me, and I embrace what's given to me. And at some point, I'm learning still too to not ask the question that if I got the job because I'm Asian, or did I get a job because I'm not Asian? I did not get a job because I'm Asian. Most importantly, I want to start asking, did I get the job because I'm talented, or did I get the job because I'm right fit for the job? And because the racial part of the business, it's tough, guys. You know, we shot together. I insisted that if I'm going to Paris, and when editor-in-chief Kenneth Go from Harper's Bazaar, we said, if we're going to go to Paris, yeah, we can shoot a French model. But why are we doing that when we're Asian represented magazine and you're coming from America as an Asian American? What do you want to do? I go, I want an Asian face in Paris. And I got this. I mean, look at this. This was amazing.
That dress, the Victor and Rolf dress, it was so difficult to get into.
It's a picture frame, you guys. This is actually a picture frame that if you take it off, you can put it on the wall and it hangs like a picture frame, like a canvas. And then when it's on her, it looks amazing. But that's a journey I think we're going to, as Asian Americans or whatever label that defines us as Asian people, that we're constantly learning and we're constantly trying to balance it and embrace, because especially during this pandemic, during this time, a lot of fingers are pointing at Asia, and specifically Chinese people bringing the virus to the world. Now we are battling and re-educating people about tolerance, about acceptance all over again. It is mind-boggling. It completely is, but it's something that I find is it's our responsibility, because we carry this we have to start carrying this as well to educate others. You know what I mean?
This and this.
Yes. Yeah, it's all here. And this doesn't go anywhere. You know, it stays with you. So as your career just started to climb and excel, I know that you are a muse to so many, especially Karl Lagerfeld. That relationship must be so special. And yeah, we lost him a few years ago. Share with us a little bit of your relationship with him.
Well, my relationship with Karl it's been we worked together for 6 years until he passed, but it's more about the house of Chanel. And it was so unexpected, and I don't even know how I got so lucky, to be honest, but going all the way back to how it first started would be kind of like, how much time do we have? I came back with my black hair. I signed with Nomad, and they signed me with Wilhelmina in New York, where Roman Young, who is now part of Nomad Management, was a director. And he's Hawaiian, he's part Asian, and he's always been such a huge supporter and of Asian women with models, Asian culture. And so when I met him, he was like, "You're fucking cool. Like, I don't care what they say. Like, you're cool, and we like you, and you're gonna make something. Like, let's do something." So then, I started modeling. It wasn't going anywhere. It was a little bit like stale still in the Western market. So,
but you had somebody like Roman completely believed in you from the start, and that means a lot, because at those downtimes, and like you said, models are like freelancers, and so are photographers, right? One day we're shooting covers after covers after covers, and all of a sudden there could be a dry spell, and you need to have that root system. You need to have a support system that you can lean on and continue to be your champion, be your cheerleader, that you can do this, and not take anything that comes at you in a personal way, although we know it's very personal when it becomes racially addressed. To say it carefully there, but yes, so that really does build. So over time, you overcome that, you overcame all that. When did you just know, you know what, it doesn't matter what other people said, I'm gonna listen to Nomad, I'm gonna listen to Roman, I'm gonna believe that how much they believe in me, I believe in myself, and I'm gonna go for it?
Well, I think that kind of started, and it wasn't like one day I woke up and I was like, I don't give a fuck what people say. I'm going to be me.
I wish it all could
do that. All work out, and it all worked out. I wish it was that way. But we, it was kind of slow. I wasn't really doing much, but at least I had the connection back to Korea, and I felt a little bit of a hint of something there.
Hope.
So yeah, a hint of hope. And I came back. One day, Roman and I were talking on the phone, and he's like, "How about you bleach your hair? Like, how do you feel about that?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, what about going blonde?" And I was like, "Are you kidding? Like, I've wanted to do that for so long." There were a couple, like, before K-pop was a real like word, in Korean culture or Asian culture, there were some people with bleach hair, like pop singers and stuff, and I thought it was really cool.
I used to be.
But I mean, I just thought that it was unfortunate, because a lot of the times their hair was really brassy, and like, it wasn't like the color that suited them, but I thought it was really cool. And I was like, I've always wanted to do it, let's do it. So then we bleached it. It took 12 hours. It was really expensive, blah, blah, blah. And it ended up changing my career. So all in all, not a bad investment.
No, and the funny thing about blonde hair, I can share a story that when I graduated from college in the arts, from Pasadena Arts Center, that when I began to I had blonde hair going through that school the last year because I was going through personal crisis. I needed to change and get, we do stuff to get control over ourselves. And hair is one thing that people will do. Cut your hair, cut your bang, color your hair. It's the best control that you can have that changes you, but it's not permanent, right?
Absolutely.
So I dyed my hair blonde. And then after school, I put it back to black because I want to be respectful, be the Asian respectful one, go to all the New York agency, trying to get art directing job, trying to get advertising work. As a designer, I wasn't a photographer yet. And nobody remembered me. Nobody cared. I came back to California, dyed my hair blonde, changed my name. I used my middle name instead of my first name, and I went back out, and every single agency remembered me. Whether they're hiring me or not, they remembered me. And from that day, I decided not to take any of their jobs and open my own agency. Because I'm like, if I'm going to make a note for myself, it's going to be mine. You're not going to take this blonde hair and use it for your benefit. I'm going to do it on my own terms. So yes, I'm all for dyeing your hair blonde. Now, me at this age, blonde hair, it will not look good. So I'm going to
you never know that.
I will leave it to you supermodels. You guys look great.
No.
So the relationship with Chanel, the House of Chanel, it really, really did bring you into a stardom. You walk the show, you close the show, you open shows, you then start branching out to become ambassadors of L'Oreal. And that was so amazing to see. And what's that relationship like?
The relationship with L'Oreal, incredible. It's one of the oldest cosmetic brands that is global, has the most beautiful message, which is we're worth it. I mean, it's really hard because those are the words I want to live by. To be honest, to be fairly honest, I don't know if I always feel that way. And I think, it's okay because I'm human. Everyone has their good days and bad days. But also to be one of the first Asian faces to be representing a brand, a beauty brand globally, it was I was like, pinch me, is this a dream? I couldn't believe it.
I remember the announcement happened and I got an email notice from the agency that you got this announcement. I couldn't help but be joyful and say, wow, now the education process has now permeated to Europe because the company is European owned company. And it's so nice that they're now understand that your face, the unique or whatever label they want to give you, it is a representation of how we are as human. We're uniquely beautiful and we're powerful what we are. And as an Asian woman, to represent the beauty that you represent, because as we all have categories, right, in this business. You're not the typical Asian. You're not the typical white girl. You're not the and all those things is exactly why it makes you the perfect ambassador for them, because we should not be defined by each one of those definitions. And I know I grow up, people going, you're not Chinese, you're not Taiwanese, you're not, because I don't look like I'm from Taiwan, or I don't look like I'm from China. I look mixed, and I don't know how many arguments I literally have with people and just go, okay, give up. You think I'm Filipino, I'm Filipino. If you think I'm Korean, I'm Korean. Whatever you want, whatever label that you need to make yourself happy, take it. I'm okay with it. But what I think is so important now, it's not just that you're not a model for Chanel, you're not a model for L'Oreal, you're ambassador. And that means that vocabulary and that definition of being ambassador means everything else outside of you just being a face for them. You have to really grow and embody the spirit of the brand. You are worth it. You will have to live that message every single day.
Yeah. I mean, it's truly a validation to be an ambassador for a brand like that, alongside so many amazing women. Like for L'Oreal, there's women like Helen Mirren, Jane Fonda, beautiful models, Andy McDowell, young girls as well, and Camila Cabello, like amazing talents. And then Chanel as well. There's so many, I mean, it's like the best. So.
And on the flip side of it, being a model, a career, being an ambassador for them, as joyful as you are wearing their brand, I'm equally proud when I get to shoot the Chanel collection. I had two opportunities when the entire Chanel collection was on my studio. and be able to photograph the entire collection, to be the one who gets to see it first off the runway. Those moments are pretty incredible, you know. And like us in Paris, I remember Chanel couture dress came in and we were told you have 5 minutes to photograph this dress.
Yeah.
It's leaving. And we knew it had to be you in that dress because you represent the brand. And we had to make it work within that 5 minutes. Those are the special, unique moments for me to really appreciate that you as an entity, not as a model, but as an ambassador for the brand, how important it is to really embody the spirit and the message what each brand has. And for me, I had the opportunity to work with L'Oreal as well. And I had the same feeling when I got booked for L'Oreal. Yeah, I'm not in front of the camera, but I'm like, yeah, I'm worth it as a photographer to shoot for this brand, you know. And that message goes beyond just beauty, it's opportunity. You know, it's all the different opportunity that comes with that brand. And so congratulations for being such an inspiration to so many of us, truly. Because now people open magazine, they see your faces, you know, they see your face in different magazines, and other people can know that it is possible for them. And your story is so different than hi, I got scouted when I was walking in the mall at 13 and I started modeling when I'm 13 and I just became successful. Not to take anything away from those opportunities for people, but you are immigrant who came to this country with nomads support and believe in you, an agent that truly believe in you and take chances, dyeing your hair, creating what I think is a brand. I think that is your brand, right? Yeah. I mean, when I think Soo Joo, it is that brand. And when your brand becomes so solidified, you are holding true to that blonde hair, unique face on the cover of Allure magazine in America. To me, there's no other validation to say you are gorgeous and you are beautiful and you're worth it. Absolutely. Oh, you know, and honest, I love you and I love photographing you, but as a human being, I just want to give this opportunity to thank you for continuing to not just say, take no for answer and continue to say, I am Korean, American.
I'm worth it. Give me a chance.
I know, L'Oreal should be sponsoring this talk. but yeah. And you're right, we are human and it's hard at times to be able to have to go, well, what's going on? During this time, we're all in a very quiet place. You know, we're in a really quiet place. But in this quiet place, especially during this month, I think a moment to reflect that being Asian American and what we can do and continue to do silently, actually, it really does help people. Because I didn't realize how important it was for me being an Asian person until I went back to Asia to do Asia Next Top Models. And I'm the judge and mentor on that show. And when I all of a sudden getting DMs, messages of kids talking about, wow, thank you for coming back home. Oh, wow, thank you for being an Asian face on an Asian show, that it wasn't just a whitewash, you know, a branded show with a bunch of Caucasians judging us. It was so rewarding, and it put a responsibility on me. From that day forward, I had to realize, I have to remember when I'm casting, I have to remember that when opportunities there, push the Asian community forward. And it's I don't want to say it's an uphill battle, and I understand there are times when things have to be appropriate to push what we want, the message we want. But when opportunity like this happens, when I get to choose who I want to work with, I guarantee you and I promise you, you will see Asian faces in front of my lenses. That's where I like to approach my career and how I like to approach my work, you know?
It's really a rare, I mean, it's so amazing to hear that, because also you're on the other end of the lens where you're giving these opportunities to other girls and, you know, different looks. And for us, I think as models, it was really difficult when I was first starting out, because, you know, I already was not the typical face, and then I bleached my hair, so I'm standing out like a sore thumb. And but nonetheless, it was still the fact that I'm Asian that helped me become casted in a lot of things. And oftentimes it was like, it's neither, you know, like there's going to be only one person of ethnicity there. So if it's not going to be me, it's going to be her. And if it's going to be her, it's not going to be me. So then this competitive dog, you know, it just got really toxic at some point, and I had to tell myself to get out of that. Like, no matter what the clients or casting are thinking, we're all human beings. We're all here together.
I'm so
You're not
happy
gonna
you
get
said
this
that.
job. I'm gonna get it. Let's be happy.
Right.
If I'm not gonna get this job, but you got it, I'm happy for you. Like, I'm really trying to change that kind of mindset for myself.
I love hearing that. But you also have people who are so supportive of that concept. For example, you know, we know in Paris, we know in some shows that they're like, okay, let's have a status quo, 2 African American and 2 plus size now, and let's make sure we have 1 Asian girl represent. And they're just check marks for people to check off. But then you have something like Jeremy Scott, who puts a show together because he absolutely loves the girls and the men as well. And he has the most diverse, most incredible lineup when he has his fashion shows. And that's why I'm always so happy to be backstage and covering it, because it just, it is truly the most diverse and most Asian embracing, Korean embracing, Chinese embracing, Mexican embracing, whatever race that you might happen to be, it didn't even matter. And that's what I love, because you're no longer just a check mark. You're like, oh, we have Soo Joo, so we don't need another Asian girl. That's not the case. Now we're hiring Soo Joo because Soo Joo is a brand. Right? We're hiring you because you're a brand. And I think that's what ultimate that satisfaction and achievement that you should give yourself a pat on the back. Because what Norma has done for you and you guys' longevity for over 10 years of working in this business, that you are now a brand. So when you don't get that job, it's not because Soo Joo did not get that job, because that brand just doesn't fit your brand. And with that, I think you can be more powerful and your brand can get bigger.
Yeah. It took me a long time to realize that.
Well, if you ever forget, you have my number, and I will give you the lecture again, again, and again. Because I am one of the ones that will constantly support the Asian community and embrace the Asian community to work harder and support each other. Because yes, there can be 5 Asians in one room, and there could be 10 Asians in the same movie with other people. We are not a status quo. We are not just a check mark that you go, we have 1 person on CBS as Asian, check, we don't need any more shows with Asian people. That will change. That will change. We've seen it already at the Oscars. We see movies winning, Korean movie film winning best film. You know, like we're seeing Crazy Rich Asians are making 2 and 3 at the same time, because they're not making it for their country. They're making it global, you know, and that's what it is. We're here to stay, guys. The Asian heritage is not going anywhere, and we're here to stay. But thank you so much for sharing your story, and I love hearing the journey that you go through, and I'm so proud of you. And like L'Oreal said, you're totally worth it. You're worth every minute, everything. And I can't wait.
I'm always like, and then I'm like, no, I'm not worth it.
Yes, you are. And I know during this time it's so difficult to get on the phone with someone, especially live. And I thank you for your energy and your time that we're going to share during this time. And I can't wait to create with you again.
So great. I mean, it's really seldom when I'm like really kind of trying to think back on how I started and the reasons why and the things, like the growth. Like, talking to you right now made me realize, like, oh wow, like I've really grown throughout the years, and it's a great moment to always look back. And I mean, don't live in the past, but you know, always have an idea of where you come from and look forward.
Wow. We can't wait to see how much further you will go, and I'm sure there's no boundary and nothing's going to stop you with the way you're going right now. And I
always keeping busy.
I can't wait to create with you again and photograph you again. And I want to see your photography, because I know you study photos, and I know you're doing a lot of photo shoots you have to do because of pandemic. Embrace it and love it, because there's another journey for you in that world. I just know it. But I can't wait.
have to say, it is not easy.
Well, good. Don't take my job all the way.
I was like, oh yeah, like I have all these visions in my head of what I want to do, and I'm like, this is not how I envisioned it.
Are you saying you appreciate me right now? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. So much.
Well, thank you so much. With that note, everyone, thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk, and we'll continue our Asian celebration this week. And you have any questions at all? I know we didn't get to the Q&A today. The time has run out, but please DM both of us. We're happy to engage with you through socially. And you guys keep talking, because it brings smiles on your face, and keep trying to be not so socially distant. And this is where we're going to keep on talking and celebrate. So come back tomorrow. I'll see you again. And Soo Joo, thank you so much. Love.